We have seen till 8th, 7th verse. Mammai vamsha jivaloki jivabhuta sanatana. Hare Krishna. So, from first 6 shlokas spoke about the material world, Urdu Moolam, Madashakam, then how this roots is nourished by 3 modes, and then how to cut that attachment, and by taking shelter of Lord, Abhyam Purusham Prapadde, who is originator of everything, and then surrendering process, Nirmana Yadasanga Dosha Adhyatma Nitya Vinirvata Kama. We discussed that. Dvandva Mukta, Sukha Dukkha. Samnair Gachantyam Odapadam Avyam Tat. Then 6th, called the spiritual world. 7th, the power of the mind. That is what Burjanpur writes. 7th indicates what I think we have not discussed this. Yeah. This verse hints at the power of mind's power to determine. He writes here. Someone can read this.
So this verse hints at the mind's power to determine the living entity's future, and the next verse continues that thirst, explaining how, determined by his thoughts, a soul attains his next body.
Yes. Basically, after speaking about the material world, then coming to the spiritual world, what is the reason for us to go from material world, spiritual world, how we came to the material world? The connecting feature is the mind, the mechanism of reincarnation. So that is being covered in the next 3rd section. So that is what Lord Shri Krishna is telling. The living entity is not from the material world, it's from the spiritual world. But because of uncontrolled mind, it has to suffer. Yes. So this speaks about very famous verse. Basic foundation of our journey of self-discovery course, Soul, Science of Soul. Speaks about that. Shariram yad apnoti, yad avapnoti, yacchapi utkramatishvarah, gritvaitani samyati, vayurgandha nivasayat. Shariram yad avapnoti, yacchapi utkramatishvarah, gritvaitani samyati, vayurgandhan ivashayat. Yes. Translation. Transmigration of soul.
The living entity in the material world carries its different conceptions of life from one body to another, as the air carries aromas. Thus, he takes one kind of body and again quits it to take another.
Basically, this verse speaks about air carries aroma. So aroma of a rose, aroma of any of the flowers, it carries it. So basically, it's like subtle body carrying the soul. That is what Krishna is trying to tell here. The element in material world carries this different conception of life from one body to another, as air carries aroma. Basically, what is the conception? It's a perception. It's the swabkala karma swabhava. So that is carried forward by the subtle body to the next body, to the medium of mind. That is what Krishna is trying to tell here. Yes, Mataj, please read the purport.
Here, the living entity is described as Ishvara, the controller of his own body. If he likes, he can change his body to a higher grade, and if he likes, he can move to a lower class. So, minute independence is there. The change his body undergoes depends upon him. At the time of death, the consciousness he has created will carry him on to the next type of body. If he has made his consciousness like that of a cat or dog, he is sure to change to a cat's or dog's body. And if he has fixed his consciousness on godly qualities, he will change into the form of a demigod. And if he is in Krishna consciousness, He will be transferred to Krishna Loka in the spiritual world and will associate with Krishna. It is a false claim that after the annihilation of this body, everything is finished. The individual soul is transmigrating from one body to another, and his present body and present activities are the background of his next body. One gets a different body according to karma, and he has to quit this body in due course. It is stated here that the subtle body, which carries the conception of the next body, develops another body in the next life. This process of transmigrating from one body to another and struggling while in the body is called karshati, or struggling for existence.
Yes. So therefore, here in the last 3 lines, Prabhupada speaks about, which simply read the translation, you'll not understand what it is happening. Living entity in the material world carries his different conception of life from one body to another body, as the air carries aroma. There is no mention about subtle body, but Prabhupada writes in the last 3 lines. Stated here, the subtle body carries the conception of Kala, Karam, Subhava. And Karshati, where it's coming, Karshati is coming from here. Prakriti Sthani Karshati. Struggle for existence. So Prabhupada is giving the purport of 7th verse in the 8th purport. Here there is no Karshati. Shariram yadvapnoti yacchapi utkramat ishvaraha gritvaitani samyati vayur gandha ivasayat. So let's see what Burjanpu has to say. What comment he's trying to give. Yes, he gives a very nice analogy here. Someone can read this?
And read Prabhuji. Oh, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. This one, Prabhuji, 8-1.
Yeah, when blowing wind passes over.
When the blowing wind passes over a fragment rose garden, it acquires a sweet scent. Yet the air itself is not sweet. Its sweetness is acquired. When that same air passes over sewage, its odor becomes vile. Again, the air foul smell is not the actual scent of the air, but rather the scent of that with which the air has come into contact. Similarly, although the soul is trapped in a gross body and subtle mind, he remains aloof from all his contact, all his apparent qualities, whether he exhibits the fragment mode of goodness or the foul mode of ignorance.
Yes. Continue, the quality of mind.
Okay. The quality of mind, as explained in the following verse, attracts its next gross body like a magnet attracts an iron nail.
So basically, the fragrance is compared to 3 modes. Subtle body is the air which carries the fragrance of 3 modes along with the soul to the next body. Quality of mind, as explained in the following verse, attracts its next gross body. So that is, next shloka is speaking about this. The quality of the mind extracts the next body like a iron attracts a nail. Yes. So once it gets a gross body, how the living entity enjoys, how he exploits that body, that is being spoken here, how he gets a gross body. Shotram chakshushu sparshanam cha rashanam granam eva cha adhishtaya manaschayam vishayan upasevate. Yes, Surya Mataji can read.
The living entity, thus taking another gross body, obtains a certain type of ear, eye, tongue, nose, and sense of touch, which was grouped around the mind. He thus enjoys a particular set of sense objects. In other words, if the living entity adulterates his consciousness with the qualities of cats and dogs, in his next life, he gets a cat or dog body and enjoys. Consciousness is originally pure, like water, but if you mix water with certain color, it changes. Similarly, consciousness is pure, for the spirit soul is pure, but consciousness is changed according to the association of material qualities. Real consciousness is Krishna consciousness. When therefore one is situated in Krishna consciousness, he is in his pure life. But if his consciousness is adulterated by some type of material mentality, in the next life he gets a corresponding body. He does not necessarily get a human body again. He can get the body of a cat, dog, hog, demigod, or one of many other forms. From there are 84 lakh species.
Yes. So it's not very easy to realize this. Even if we theoretically may understand this, we may speak about this, we may discuss about this, but these colors are not going to change. There is saying in one of the language, in my mother tongue, the saying is the burnt, the quality which we acquire by birth cannot be burnt even when the body is burnt. South, one of the saying, in Udupi they have this, that the qualities which are acquired by birth, the body will be burnt, but the qualities will not get burnt. They'll go to the next life. So this is coming from where? Bhagavadgita only. So this perception, these conceptions, it's not so sincerely I'm expressing. It's not so easy to realize this thing. At the least expected moment, you understand, okay, we may speak, I'm not the body, I'm spiritual, but least expected moment a person falls prey. This is the power of modes of nature. So what one should do? One should consciously try to take shelter of a spiritual master. Has to consciously deal with devotees. Basically, he has to cultivate mode of goodness.
Yes.
Should slow down. Should try to slow down his life. Observe himself. Observe his shortcomings. It's not so easy. Therefore, it's not sunna. In Hindi, there is a word called as sunna, and there is shravan. Hearing means hearing from this ear and living from this ear. And shravana means like the cow ruminates charvan. It puts in left packet the grass, brings it out, then keeps on eating all through the night and puts it in the right bag. That is how it is nourished. Similarly, we may read it, we may discuss it, but unless otherwise we don't do contemplation, nididhyasanam, we will not be able to apply it. One has to consciously pray to the Lord, pray to the spiritual master, depend on devotees. And then only this kind of exploitative mentality can go. Otherwise, it's not so easy. it doesn't seem so easy as it looks here. Yes, similarly question.
Yeah, I have a question, Prabhuji. Yes, I understand that the kind of modes you interact with on your daily basis, in your life, that those kind of qualities you incorporate in yourself, right? So if you want to have your consciousness very clear, you need to associate with mode of goodness. But that's not the choice we have in our hand all the time. We tend to meet people, we tend to do certain things which may not be of mode of goodness all the time, but then that contaminates our consciousness also, right, Prabhuji? Because before coming to Krishna consciousness, we had few friends. We cannot just cut off from them. If they meet, they call, you have to talk some material nonsense with them for some time, even if you don't want. But that contaminates your consciousness. But how do we keep purifying it, or how do we stay away that it does not take it over on our consciousness?
Yeah, this is the same question which you are asking, which we studied in our first standard, crocodile and monkey story. Monkey went on the back of a crocodile, but it told its heart is not with that. It is kept its heart where that tree. So it comes back. So basically that story speaks about association, Satsang. Satsang Tyaga Ye Vaishnavachar. We may not be able to give it up because we have some connection, we have to keep some contacts. We need to, as at least as a grahasthas, or even as full-time devotees, because they help a temple, they may give some donation, they may. For grahastha, it's different. For like I'm telling about devotees, full-time devotees are full-time grahasthas, one is called. They go for fund collection, they go for life membership and other things. So the people who are there, they are not devotees, but still they have to interact with them. They have to speak with them. So when we are doing that, we should be very clear to what we are doing and why we are doing. We should not give. So when I speak about association, it's not about association means 6 things. Bhagati, pratigranati, bhuyam akyati, prachati, bhungte, bhojate, chaiva. So consciously one should not do these things, 6 things with them. One should do it Yes, because we have this connection, we need to do it. But we don't have to take their inputs, their suggestions very, very seriously. There's a formality we should deal with them.
Okay.
One should not give one's heart. Yes, someone can read, somebody else can read this one after taking shelter of his mind's desire.
I'll read, Prabhuji.
Mhm.
After taking shelter of his mind's desires and obtaining his next body and senses, the living entity begins to exploit his specifically allotted sense objects. Our particular body, its eyes, ears, tongue, nose, and all else is formed around our mind's desires. If we desire to fly, to hang glide, for example, why undergo the tribulation of artificially attaching ourselves to wings? If our life's pleasure is scuba diving, why go to the trouble of having to resurface to fill our air tanks? It's easier to become a fish. Based on the mind's desires, a gross body is generated with a particular facility for pleasure. Krishna will now answer the question of why people can't see this happening.
So this A7, 8, 9 is speaking about how mind is controlling the living entity's journey in this material world, and living entity, because of the mind being contaminated, subtle body basically, it is trapped, it is suffering. Although it is eternally part and parcel of Krishna. 8th verse spoke about the mechanism of reincarnation. 9th verse spoke about how the living entity exploits, tries to exploit the gross body with particular setting for like species. So now, who can see this? Who cannot see this? Materialistic cannot see this, who are tainted by the three modes, and the spiritualist who are trying to gain knowledge, because this third section is speaking about the knowledge, jnana. So who can see this? Seekers, spiritual seekers can try to see this by the knowledge of Lord. That is the next shloka. Utkramantam stitam vapi bunjanam va gunanvitam vimudanam pashyanti jnana chakshusha. So right now we have charma chakshu. Now we only see based on the skin. The skin, we have a skin disease like a cobbler. Cobbler basically sees on the level of skin. But we may not have prema chakshu, premanjana churita bhakti vilochanena. But at least by reading these books, at least if we come to the level of jnana chakshu, then what happens is sometimes we were tempted, but at least we are aware, okay, this should not be done. There is a guilt factor. So that will eventually, Krishna says that thing. That is devotee, my devotee is trying his best to rise above from charma chakshu to jnana chakshu. So that is itself a great achievement for a devotee. With the blessing of Krishna, then eventually the living entity gets a prema chakshu. Yes.
Foolish cannot understand how a living entity can quit his body, nor can they understand what sort of body he enjoys under the spell of modes of nature. But one whose eyes are trained in knowledge can see all this. Purport: the word jnana chakshu is very significant. Without knowledge, one cannot understand how a living entity leaves his present body, nor what form of body he is going to take in the next life, nor even why he is living in a particular type of body. This requires a great amount of knowledge understood from Bhagavadgita and similar literatures heard from a bona fide spiritual master. One who is trained to perceive all these things is fortunate. Every living entity is quitting his body under certain circumstances. He is living under certain circumstances, and he is enjoying under certain circumstances under the spell of material nature. As a result, he is suffering different kinds of happiness and distress under the illusion of sense enjoyment. Persons who are everlastingly fooled by lust and desire lose all power to understand their change of body and their stay in a particular body. They cannot comprehend it. Those who have developed spiritual knowledge, however, can see that the spirit is different from the body and is changing its body and enjoying in different ways. A person in such knowledge can understand how the conditioned living entity is suffering in this material existence. Therefore, those who are highly developed in Krishna consciousness try their best to give this knowledge to the people in general, for their conditional life is very much troublesome. They should come out of it and be Krishna conscious and liberate themselves to transfer to the spiritual world.
Who was writing? Those who are highly Krishna conscious. Therefore, what preaching we do in our conditioned stage, Prabhupada writes in the 4th canto chapter, it is simply we are trying to fulfill our Guru's instruction. Preaching can be done only if we are devotee. But our Acharya has ordered us to preach, therefore we are trying to preach. So it's very important. Yes, so if we finish here, this section, the 3rd section, we have next section from 12 to 20. So what I want from all of you is, okay, 11th is over.
No problem.
Okay, 11th is done. Okay, 10th. Okay, one more sloka is remaining. 11th we have to do. Okay. What Gurujan 2 is writing about this paragraph? The person who is in ignorance, Vimudas, person who is in knowledge. Yes. Somebody else can read this.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji Dandapranam.
Yeah.
Those who lack knowledge are vimudhas. They are blinded by unending attempts to enjoy their senses because they identify with the happiness and distress arising from the senses. They remain unable to distinguish matter from spirit. Their intense desire for bodily and mental pleasure has covered their ability to experience their own spiritual existence. What is the cure for this ignorance? Krishna says knowledge. Those whose eyes are trained in knowledge by hearing and learning Shastras can see. Lack of shastric learning brings about the following results.
Yes. Because of the ignorance, they are not able to see, but by knowledge they can see. But if they continue to remain ignorant, what happens? They remain vimudas. Yatanto yoginaschainam pashyanti atmani vasthitam yatanto apyakratatmano nainam pashyanti chetasaha. Next duty.
Shall I read, Prabhuji?
Yes.
Translation. The enduring transcendentalist who are situated in self-realization can see all this clearly, but those whose mind are not developed and who are not situated in the self-realization cannot see what is taking place, though they may try. But there are many transcendentalists on the path of spiritual self-realization, but one who is not situated in self-realization cannot see how things are changing in the body of the living entity. The word yogina is significant in this connection. In the present day, there are many so-called yogis, and there are many so-called associations of yogis, but they are actually blind in the matter of self-realization. They are simply addicted to some sort of gymnastic exercise and are satisfied if the body is well built and healthy. They have no other information. They are called yatanto by akratam manaha. Even though they are enduring in a so-called yoga system, they are not self-realized. Such people cannot understand the process of the transmigration of the soul. Only those who are actually in the yoga system and have realized the self, the world, and the Supreme Lord, in other words, the Bhakti yogis. Those engaged in pure devotional service in Krishna consciousness can understand how things are taking place.
The so-called Hatha yogis are trying to do yoga for sense gratification. Prabhupada is trying to tell about them here. Yatanto api akratatmano. Prabhupada is telling, but those whose mind are not developed and who are not steered in self-realization cannot see what is taking place, though they may try. Wow, very nice, amazing. Prabhupada is trying to connect it with. They are trying to connect to the power of yoga simply for material benefits. Prabhupada is trying to refer to them. Yatanto api akratatmano. Only those actually in yoga. So your purpose of yoga is not bodily gymnastic. It's not increasing one's sensual potency. It's only for increasing one's lifespan. It's for connecting with God. And therefore it's actually referring to Bhakti yogis who's engaged in pure devotional service. Okay, Bhushan Pro, what is trying to do? Yeah, short. Yes, Mataji, please read this.
Yes, Prabhuji. The enduring transcendentalist,
Pure-hearted
pure-hearted spiritualist, see the soul transmigrates. The blind who lack knowledge see nothing. Even one without knowledge, however, can see Krishna in his opulent manifestation in matter and become attracted to him.
Yes.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji.
Yes. Okay, so now this section gets over. We have a next section, 12 to 20. This is going to conclude the chapter. What I want from all of you is, till now Krishna has finished 3 sections. He has spoken till 11th verse. First 5 verses he spoke about material world, and then he spoke about spiritual world in one shloka, and then he told that living entities from spiritual world, but is struggling hard because of the transmigration of living entity in his body. So from 12 to 20, I want all of you to just take 6 minutes time. 5 to 7 minutes time. It's 7:17 till 25. You can read the translations. You can read the main points. Basically, I think you can quickly skim the translations, and once you've completed the translation, you can try to find out what Krishna is trying to speak here in the further things. It's called the Yoga of Supreme Person. Till now, spiritual world, material world, and then transmigration is mentioned. So, what is being mentioned in the remaining 8 shlokas? Okay, we can start reading the section on your own. Take out your time, contemplate, find out. Any important points worth mentioning the purport, that also you can underline and you can share it when I come. Oh, it's already 7:29. One more minute you can take, 7:30, then you can start sharing. What was your assimilation? What you could understand?
Prabhuji, can I tell some little bit?
What?
Mean-
What I should tell?
No, Prabhuji, shall I explain whatever I
Okay, okay.
understand?
Yeah. One more minute, 7:30. One more minute.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Let all of them. You completed my reading?
Yes, Prabhuji, translation I read and some points I make out.
Okay, good. Yes, you can start.
Okay, Prabhuji. In 12 to 15, Krishna is telling his position in this material world. Like he is telling, I am the source of all the light. I am the sun, moon, and whatever the light is coming from me only. I enter in all the planets, like I situated everywhere. Then I am the Jata Agni. Jata Agni means the fire of digestion. So whatever we eat, Krishna is also the air of life, which mix with the food and it digests. It digests 4 kind of food, like whatever is chewed, sipped, and licked or sucked. So these 4 kind of food is digestion by the Krishna. And then Krishna in 15th he said like Krishna is situated in everyone's hearts, and whatever the knowledge he is gaining, whatever the intelligence or remembrance he has is because of Krishna only, because he is situated in the heart of the person. Then in 16 and 17 is about the is telling what kind of people are living in this world or spiritual world, and who is the super soul. So 16 is telling like there are 2 kind of people, is fallible and infallible. Fallible means the who is living in material world. They can fall anytime with their progress. And whoever is infallible, they are situated in the spiritual world. But beyond these 2 types of fallible and infallible, there is a supreme soul, that is Paramatma, that is Krishna, who is maintaining all the material world, spiritual world also. And after that, Krishna is saying in the 18th verse, like, I am the transcendentist, I am the supreme one, I am superior of all the fallible and infallible, I am the greatest, and I am worshipped in both the worlds, either in the spiritual world or the material world. Everyone celebrate me. And 19 and 20, Krishna is saying what is the Vedas and what is the difference between Vedas and Vedanta. Basically, Vedas means Vedas is the scriptures, Vedic scriptures, which has the knowledge. But a person who know the knowledge of the Vedic scriptures, as like Krishna is everything, he is a Vedanta. Prabhuji, I understood that much.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you,
Somebody else
Prabhuji.
can very nicely explained. Somebody else would like to try?
Can I give the gist, Prabhuji?
Yes.
So from shloka 12 to 20th, the flow is something like this, that in the 12th shloka, Krishna says that he is the source of all the material world that we see, that he's making the conditioned soul think that this sun and this fire, the moon, are like extraordinary things, and if they look at them, they will get at least some realization that there is some energy or some creator behind it, and that can awaken the dormant Krishna consciousness in them. So he's probably trying to tell the conditioned soul that look at these things, I am the source of these things, and take the first step towards me. And then later he's trying to say that since because you are here, your desire was to enjoy, control, and all those things. For that, I have sustained this entire universe for you. It's for your desire I have created all this. Right? So human being wanted to have a separate kingdom to enjoy, to control. So Krishna created this entire thing for us. And then he says not only he created the entire universe, but also sustain our life by becoming our digestive system and giving us the prana shakti. Right? So he entered in us, digesting our food, which gives us the prana shakti to live in this world. And he not only created the entire environment for us, but also live with us as our guiding force, where he says that I'm seated in everyone's heart, and remembrance and knowledge and forgetfulness comes from me. So as we approach him, he reciprocates in the same way. So if we become Krishna consciousness, we become Krishna conscious, then the knowledge and remembrance he will give us. If we are not, then forgetfulness will come from him. So he lives with us also in that miserable condition also. So he basically, he's sustaining everything for us, just for our small desire to enjoy the world. And then he tries to tell that that there are two kind of people. The one the infallible are those who are united with him, and they are eligible to live with him in the spiritual world. And then he talks about himself, like out of these two people, above that, it's me who's the greatest of all. And from me comes the Vedas, and I'm to be known through the Vedas, and knowing him is the absolute knowledge, and Vedas are meant for this. And once you know this, you can attain this absolute truth. So this is the flow I understood, Prabhuji.
Okay, somebody else. Thank you so much, Madhavi, for contemplating, trying to churn out of it.
Thank you.
Anybody would like to try?
Prabhuji, one point Krishna also mentioned, like the one who have faith in him and he believes in him without any doubt, that is the knower of everything, and which if that person will directly engage himself in devotional service to Lord without any doubt, or without doubting about Krishna, which he mentioned in 19.
Yes.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji,
Hare Krishna.
भगवद गीता में कृष्णा ने एक ही बात कही है कि मुझे ही जानो और मुझे पहचानो, और मेरे बारे में ऑलवेज प्रे करते रहो. इसीलिए दैट्स व्हाई इन द 12th श्लोक also he is saying the same thing. Every all the, what do you call, darkness, I'm just removing all the darkness, and I'm the one who is giving a lightning, and so.
Yeah, he's illuminating sun and moon. Therefore, he's trying to eliminate darkness from life.
और जीवन का रस भी उनके थ्रू आता है जीवों को, वनस्पति, all the जो भी
vegetables. Okay.
Correct. Thank you.
One point I want to add here, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Those who understand him perfectly, those who are, perfectly, those who are understanding Krishna, they will attain peace in their life.
Perfect. No God, no peace. No God, no peace.
Yes, Prabhuji.
No. Good. Okay. Yes.
Prabhuji, Also, in 16 to 18, he is describing himself and his relation with the living entities. So that can be Sambandha Gyan. And then 19 is telling us to do devotional service.
Hmm.
So that is Avideya. And then 20 is the Falashruti or the Prayojana. Prabhu.
Hmm. Totaling 18 is Sambandha.
16 to 18 is Sambandha. 19 looks like Avideya. And
Hmm.
then 20 is the Prayojana. He's telling us that whoever understands this will become wise and
Hmm.
perfect.
Yes. Yes, yes, true. Thank you. Thank you all devotees for sharing. Basically, I want that all of you try to read and try to understand, try to share whatever you understand. Anybody else would like to share? Should we continue?
Yes, Prabhuji. One point I would like to.
Prabhuji,
Yes.
Prabhuji, the Supreme enters every atom, even of the immovable things, no Prabhu.
Ah,
So then even in the unconscious beings also he is there. So then, but the soul has, I mean, whoever has a soul, which is part of the Lord, then that has to be movable, no Prabhu. I always get a little confused when he says I enter into every atom. Like suppose my pen is there. If he's in the atoms of the pen, but it doesn't have the qualities of a soul, no Prabhu, of consciousness.
hmm. Okay, he's entering into the atom and the pen is not having consciousness.
Ah,
He is just entering as a atom. He's called as Vishwanu, who's present in every atom of the universe. He's all pervading.
but it need not be conscious, you see.
The materials are not conscious. So Andantarena Paraman. So Lord is present in
But
each
he's
and every.
there, no Prabhu.
Lord is there, but that matter is unconscious. Like you are conscious, right?
That's what I'm saying. So if he's within me and he's within the pen, then why is there the difference?
Because you are conscious, the pen is unconscious.
That's why. Why is it unconscious when the Paramatma is there? Is my question.
Oh,
Ah,
then we have to come to second chapter. Dehinosminata, Dehe, Kaumaram, Yamanandara. There are two types of living entities. Two types of things. Living, non-living. Living has 6 changes, non-living has only 3 changes. Create, maintain, destroy. Living has 6 changes. Growth, birth, growth, maintenance, byproducts, dwindle, then die. So Lord, what Madhvacharya writes in Ishopanishad is when the mantra number 6-7, where it is mentioned that Yastu Sarvani Bhutani Atmanyevanu Pashyati Tatra Kana Mohana Kashoka Ekatvam Pashyata. So he says that when we say that Lord is inside everything, he is a controller and everything rests on the Lord, that Lord is support. But Brahmasmita also speaks about that Lord is present in each and every atom of the universe as a super soul. But that atom itself is non-living, therefore is unconscious by the definition of Tattva.
Thank you.
That is the definition of Tattva. It's not a living being, it's non-living. But Lord is present in every. Stavara Jangama Deki Na Deki Tahar Moti Sarvatra Hai Ishta Devara Spurti. So that is the reason pure devotees in the sea, Stavara Jangama, Stavara is trees, Jangama they see mountains. They get Ishta Devara Spurti because they are able to see the hand of Lord in everything. So that is also a meaning that Lord is present in each and every atom, means seeing the hand of Lord in everything. Yes,
Yes.
Madhu Mataji, you were telling something.
Yeah, yes, Prabhuji. All the problems in this world are material worlds are arising due to the weakness of the heart, right, Prabhuji? That's what I understood from the text 19, text 20. Anaga, and also they have mentioned, and in 19 they specifically pointed out that it's when only the pure devotional service in Krishna consciousness is the only service you can know the Krishna. Other, like, we don't require any other spiritual process to know, like whenever you are immersing wholeheartedly in Krishna service, that is more than enough, I think. What I have to happen.
Yes.
This is what I want to explain. Thank you,
Very good.
Abhishek.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. So we'll continue. Already all of you have made my job very easy. All of you are fit to, I think already all of you will be taking so many programs. Just as a part of ritual, all of you are trying to attend this course. Gilanford sent a big list of mail in somewhere in Feb that Prabhuji replied to us in July. Not July, I think in May first week. Not May, April last week. So many, everyone, so many names in that and so many programs throughout the week. So I think all of you are trained to be preachers. But because it's online, we can't do any activity. Therefore, this is only activity I feel, because we can't make groups, we can't pair, we can't give sheets, we can't give you pens to present anything. So at least the flows and trying to explain the points, trying to do it Prabhupada purpose, trying to understand it.
No, Hyderabad, once Prabhu will do some interactive session.
Yes, we will come to your passing out Bhakti Shastri party. Yad adityagatam tejo jagad bhashyate akilam yad chandramasi yad chagno tat tejo vidimamatam. Yes. Madhvi Mataji, can read this? Madhvi Mataji, please read.
Yeah. And the splendor of the sun, which dissipates the darkness of this whole world, comes from me, and the splendor of the moon and the splendor of fire are also from me. Purport. The unintelligent can't understand how things are taking place, but one can begin to be established in knowledge by understanding what the Lord explains here. Everyone sees the sun, moon, fire, and electricity. One should simply try to understand that the splendor of the sun, the splendor of the moon, and the splendor of electricity fire are coming from the personality of Godhead. In such a conception of the life, the beginning of Krishna consciousness lies a great deal of advancement for the conditioned soul in this material world. The living entities are essentially the parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord, and He is giving here with a hint how they come back to Godhead, back to home. From this verse, we can understand that the sun is illuminating the whole universe. There are different universes and there are different suns, moons, planets also. But in each universe, there is only one sun. As stated in Bhagavadgita 10.21, the moon is one of the stars. Nakshatranam aham Sakshi. Sunlight is due to the spiritual effulgence in the spiritual sky of the Supreme Lord. With the rise of the sun, the activities of the human beings are set up. They set fire to prepare their foodstuff. They set fire to start the factories, etc. So many things are done with the help of fire. Therefore, sunrise, fire, and moonlight are so pleasing to the living entities. Without their help, no living entity can live. So, if one can understand that the light and splendor of the sun, moon, and fire are emanating from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, then one's Krishna consciousness will begin. By the moon's shine, all the vegetables are nourished. The moonshine is also so pleasing that people can easily understand that they are living by the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Without His mercy, there can't be sun. Without His mercy, there can't be moon. And without His mercy, there can't be fire. And without the help of the sun, moon, and fire, no one can live. These are some thoughts to provoke Krishna consciousness in the conditioned soul.
Yes.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So in 11th verse, Krishna is telling that only pure-hearted souls can see the transmigration. And those who are so-called mystics trying to practice, they can't see. But how they can see, he's explaining from 12, 13 to 20. So because who are Jnana-chakshu, they hear Vedas, they accept Shastras. Shastra-chakshu, Jnana-chakshu same. Jnana-chakshu matlab Shastra. Shastra is like a mother, spiritual master like a father, and with that mother and father, they see the whole universe. But those who are so-called yogis, Yatanta Yogina, anatmanah, yatantopi akratatmano. Those are impure consciousness. How they can see? Okay, they can't see, but they can't refer to scriptures. They don't believe in all these things. At least they can see how Lord is maintaining us. How Lord is maintaining us through sun, through moon, through fire. That is what Prabhupada is trying to tell you. These are some of the thoughts to provoke Krishna consciousness through conditions. So that last line gives the hint of the whole summary of the whole verse. So this is connecting the last previous verse. That's what Prabhupada is trying to write here. So in these verses, Krishna is telling himself that conditioned souls cannot see me, but they can at least appreciate me through sun, moon, fire, and then at least they can appreciate how I am entering the planet, how I nourish the vegetable, because that is what they are staying in, that is what they are eating. So at least they can become grateful. Gama Vishya Bhutani Darayam Aham Ojasa Pushnani Chaudu Aushadi Sarva Soma Bhutva Rasatmakam. Yes, Brahma Rama Mataji, please speak. You unmuted yourself.
Yes, Prabhu. I enter into each planet and by my energy, they stay in orbit. I become the moon and thereby supply the juice of life to all vegetables. But it is understood that all the planets are floating in the air only by the energy of the Lord. The Lord enters into every atom, every planet, and every living being. That is discussed in the Brahma Samhita. It is said there that one plenary portion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Paramatma, enters into the planets, the universe, the living entity, and even into the atom. So, due to his entrance, everything is appropriately manifested. When the spirit soul is there, the living man can float on the water. But when the living spark is out of the body and the body is dead, the body sinks. Of course, when it is decomposed, it flows just like straw and other things. But as soon as the man is dead, he at once sinks in the water. Similarly, all these planets are floating in space, and this is due to the entrance of the supreme energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. His energy is sustaining each planet just like a handful of dust. If someone holds a handful of dust, there is no possibility of the dust falling. But if one throws it in the air, it will fall down. Similarly, these planets which are floating in the air are actually held in the fist of the universal palm of the Supreme Lord. By his strength and energy, all moving and non-moving things stay in their place. It is said in the Vedic hymns that because of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the sun is shining and the planets are steadily moving. Were it not for him, all the planets would scatter like dust in air and perish. Similarly, it is due to the Supreme Personality of Godhead that the moon nourishes all vegetables. Due to the moon's influence, the vegetables become delicious. Without the moonshine, the vegetables can neither grow nor taste succulent. Human society is working, living comfortably, and enjoying food due to the supply from the Supreme Lord. Otherwise, mankind could not survive. The word Rasatmakaha is very significant. Everything becomes palatable by the agency of the Supreme Lord through the influence of the moon. Hare Krishna.
In the second canto, first, second, third chapter, describes about two types of yogis. One type of yogi is an attached yogi. Another type of yogi is a detached yogi, who is taken Dharnashraya of the detached yogi is Lord Vishnu, Paramatma. And the Dharnashraya of the attached yogi is Virat Rupa. So the 2.1 speaks about that Virat Rupa, 2.1, 2.2. And 2.3 speaks about the Paramatma person. And therefore, the way it's being explained here in 13th and 14th, it's about Virat, or level of cosmos. You see, there is sun is there, the moon is there, the fire is there, the Agni element. Then there is he's sustaining all living beings. Basically, how Lord is the nourishing factor of all the living entities, and that is how they meditate at the cosmic level. So therefore, here Vishwanath Chakravarti or Baldev Devotion mentions this, or it is mentioned here in Shubodhani that how Krishna is maintainer at cosmic level is mentioned in 12th and 13th verse, which we read just now, and how is nourishing us at the personal level. That is mentioned in 14th and 15th verse. So person who is not able to see by Gyan Chakshu, scriptures, basically Gyani, a speculator, at least he can see things around. By common sense, he can understand there is something in picture, something in motion, somebody is in control. Mat bhayat vati vatoyam, Indras varshati, Indra, dhavati, agni, mat bhayat. So Lord Kapila says, by my fear, the Indra is showering rain, the Agni is lighting fire, the Vayu is blowing the air, sun is rising, the moon is setting, sun is rising, moon is rising, sun is setting, moon is setting. Someone is behind. Still, okay, Baba, you can't see at the global level. At least you see your own body. If you are so much proud that you are not able to accept God, at least see your own body. That is what 14th chapter, 14th verse. That is maintaining even at the personal level of our body. Aham Vaishvanaro bhutva praninam deyam ashritah pranapana samayuktam pachami annam chaturvida. Aham Vaishvanaro bhutva, digestion of fire. It's a lot of devotees. There are a lot of devotees also come to Krishna consciousness. There's a lot of Mahaprasad. But devotees eat so much, then they have the fire becomes manda. And he is praninam deyam ashritah. He is being the body of all living entities. He is maintaining them as super soul. And is a pranapana samyuktam. That is inhale, exhale, the pranavayu. He is causing it. Because when Lord is there inside, there is pranavayu. There is a life force. Then pachami anna saturvidam. Then he is digesting all four kinds of foods. Yes. Who is next? Who has not yet read? Navanita Mataji, kindly read.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Translation: I am the fire of digestion in the bodies of all living entities, and I join with the air of life, outgoing and incoming, to digest the four kinds of foodstuff. Purport: according to Ayurvedic Shastra, we understand that there is a fire in the stomach which digests all food sent there. When the fire is not blazing, there is no hunger, and when the fire is in order, we become hungry. Sometimes, when the fire is not going nicely, treatment is required. In any case, this fire is representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vedic mantras Bruhat Aranyaka Upanishad 5.9.1 also confirm that the Supreme Lord or Brahman is situated in the form of fire within the stomach and is digesting all kinds of foodstuff. Ayam Agnir Vaishvanaro Yo Yam Antah Purushe Yenadam Annam Pachate. Therefore, since he is helping the digestion of all kinds of foodstuff, the living entity is not independent in the eating process. Unless the Supreme Lord helps him in digesting, there is no possibility of eating. He thus produces and digests foodstuff, and by his grace we are enjoying life. In the Vedanta Sutra, this is also confirmed. Shabdadibhyo antaha pratishthanach cha. The Lord is situated within sound and within the body, within the air and even within the stomach as the digestive force. There are four kinds of foodstuff. Some are drunk, some are chewed, some are licked up, and some are sucked. And he is the digestive force for all of them. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Yes. So what I was trying to explain, Gurujan is trying to say the same thing in Surrender Unto Me for the previous verse. Of course, they can understand Krishna, but at least they can understand how they are dependent on the basic sun, moon, air. After you can read this in text 6 from here.
In text 6, Krishna described the spiritual world as not needing sunlight, moonlight, fire, or electricity. In the material world, however, we need such things, and Krishna says that he is their source. Although we conditioned souls in our pride acknowledge neither our dependence on Krishna nor upon those things produced by him, we are nevertheless fully dependent on the sun, moon, and fire. Krishna's choice of examples is therefore most excellent, because it is he who is maintaining us by providing our most basic necessities of life. Hare
Yes, therefore this fourth section is about Krishna is trying to appreciate himself as a maintainer of this world. For out of causeless mercy for those fools, yatanto akratatmano, for them, he is out of his mercy is trying to speak. Yes, Mataji, you can continue this, the potency.
The potency of vegetables, so essential for strength, health, and the pleasure of our palate is supplied by Krishna. Yet even eating causes misery without the fire of digestion, which also comes from Krishna. Again, we are fully dependent on Krishna as our maintainer. Krishna completes his description of himself as maintainer in the next verse.
Yes, basically from 12, 13, 14, 15, at the global level, at the universal level, at the bodily level, he is maintaining us. So, and then he's also maintaining us to give the Vedic knowledge. Not only that, he's maintaining us to carry forward our Kala Karma Swabhava to the next body. And he also gives us forgetfulness so that we can enjoy that next body. And he also gives us remembrance if you have completed bhakti in this life to unsuccessful yogi, Shrutinam Shimutam Ge, for him to go there. He's giving remembrance. He also gives knowledge so that he can continue his path on the back to Godhead. And he gives Vedas and the goal of the Vedic knowledge to know him. Basically, whatever the living entity wants is like a desire fulfilling tree. You want to enjoy, you enjoy. You want to continue, he'll make you to forget the previous suffering. You want to go to heaven, you go to heaven. Then Vedas are there. But you want to know me, you can go back to Godhead. So therefore, in that way, he's maintaining not only in this life, but life after life. The whole mechanism of basically from 1 to 11. How is maintaining from 1 to 11? Krishna is speaking. What I'm trying to connect is Krishna is speaking from 1 to 15 years. Yes. Who has not read till now?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes. Please read. We'll decide this shloka. Sarvasya chaham hridisannivishto mattasmritirjnanamopohanam cha vedesya sarveraham eva vedyo vedanta kritveda videva chaham. Yes. Please read, bro. Ram ready.
Translation by this Srila Prabhupada ki jai. I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas, I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas. Purpose. The Supreme Lord is situated as Paramatma in everyone's heart, and it is from him that all activities are initiated. The living entity forgets everything of his past life, but he has to act according to the directions of the Supreme Lord, who is witness to all his work. Therefore, he begins his work according to his past deeds. Required knowledge is supplied to him, and remembrance is given to him, and he forgets also about his past life. Thus, the Lord is not only all-pervading, he is also localized in every individual heart. He awards the different fruitive results. He is worshipable not only as the impersonal Brahman, the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the localized Paramatma, but as the form of the incarnation of Vedas as well. The Vedas give the right direction to people so that they can properly mold their lives and come back to Godhead, back to home. The Vedas offer knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, and Krishna in his incarnation as a Vyasadeva is the compiler of the Vedanta Sutra. The commentation on the Vedanta Sutra by Vyasadeva in the Srimad Bhagavatam gives the real understanding of Vedanta Sutra. The Supreme Lord is so full that for the deliverance of the conditioned soul, he is the supplier and digester of foodstuff, the witness of activity, and the giver of knowledge in the form of the Vedas, and as the Supreme Personality of Godhead Sri Krishna, the teacher of the Bhagavadgita. He is worshipable by the conditioned soul. Thus, God is all good, God is all merciful. Anta pravishtaha shasta jananam. The living entity forgets as soon as he quits his present body, but he begins his work again, initiated by the Supreme Lord. Although he forgets, the Lord gives him the intelligence to renew his work where he ended his last life. So not only does the living entity enjoy or suffer in this world, according to the dictation from the Supreme Lord, situated locally in the heart, but he receives the opportunity to understand the Vedas from him. If one is serious about understanding the Vedic knowledge, then Krishna gives the required intelligence. Why does he present the Vedic knowledge for understanding? Because a living entity individually needs to understand Krishna. Vedic literatures confirms this. Yo sau sarvair vedair giyate. In all Vedic literature, beginning from the 4 Vedas, Vedanta Sutra and the Upanishads and Puranas, the glories of the Supreme Lord are celebrated. By performance of Vedic rituals, discussions of the Vedic philosophy, and worship of the Lord in devotional service is attained. Therefore, the purpose of the Vedas is to understand Krishna. The Veda gives us direction by which to understand Krishna and the process of realizing Him. The ultimate goal is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vedanta Sutra 1.1.4 confirms this in the following words. Tattu Samanvayat. One can attain perfection in 3 stages. By understanding Vedic literature, one can understand his relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By performing the different processes, one can approach Him. And at the end, one can attain the supreme goal, who is no other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In this verse, the purpose of the Vedas, the understanding of the Vedas, and the goal of the Vedas are clearly defined. Hare Krishna.
So purpose of the Vedas is to know Him. Understanding of the Vedas is to serve Him. And the goal of the Vedas, Sambandha Vidya Projan, all 3 things are described here. Yes, true. Somebody else can read. Is a very big purport where Burjanpu is trying to explain about this shloka. Who has not read till now? There's so many black boxes. So anybody from black box would like to read? Who have switched off videos?
Krishna Prabhu.
Yes, Srinivas. Prabhu, read.
I am seated in everyone's
No,
heart.
directly read the purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti.
Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur further explains Krishna's thoughts. Just as fire from digestion is within the stomach, I am situated in the hearts of all moving and non-moving beings as the principle of intelligence. Indeed, from me, the intelligence principle comes remembrance of things once experienced, forgetfulness and perception born from contact of the senses within their objects. Having thus described how he helps living entities in a bound condition, he next states in the words beginning by all the Vedas how he helps them attain liberation. Thus, Krishna serves each living entity from within his heart by activating remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. If one were to remember each occurrence, especially the miseries experienced throughout his unlimited births, he would be unable to function. Srila Prabhupada describes in his purport, the Vedas give us direction by which to understand Krishna and the process of realizing Him. The ultimate goal is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By understanding Vedic literature, one can understand his relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By performing the different processes, one can approach Him. And at the end, one can attain the supreme goal, which is no other than Supreme Personality of Godhead. Srila Prabhupada's words clearly indicate Sambhava, Abhideya, and Prayojana. Text 16 to 18 give knowledge of our relationship with Krishna, Sambandha Jnana, and are also sometimes referred to as Trishloki Gita for knowledge. Krishna also, as a knowledge, as an knower of Vedas and the compiler of Vedanta in these 3 verses, assists souls in transcending material existence by summarizing the essence of Vedas, which is the Vedanta. Text 19 indicates Abhideya Jnana, the process of attainment, and the final verse 20 refers to Prayojana, the goal.
Yes. So 16, 17, 18 speaks about, like so many of devotees explained about fallible, infallible, and Purushottam. So 16, 17, 18. So 16, 17, Paramatma is told, but in 18, Purushottama is told, Bhagavan feature. And 19, so the Sambandha is 16, 17, 18. Conditioned soul, liberated soul. Paramatma and Bhagavan. 16, 17, 18. That is Sambandha. These are the three hierarchies. Knowledge. But then what to do? Should we meditate? Should we worship? Should we do bhakti? 19th verse. We should do bhakti. Ananya bhakti. 20th verse. The fruit of that bhakti. One is satisfied. One is liberated. One gets Krishna's association. So this is how it goes on. So we'll say the 16th verse. The 16, 17, 18. Chakravarti, like Gurujanpur is writing here. This is sometimes called as Tri Shloki Gita. Why? Because what is in Gita? Your soul, conditioned soul, Prakriti Sthani Karshati, Mahatmanastu Mam Partha, liberated soul. And then super soul, Upadrashta Anumanta Bharta Bhokcha Maheshwaram. Then there is Bhagavan. Matta Paratam Nanak Kinshat Siddhananjaya. So this is there. And there is Ananya Bhakti, middle 6 chapters. And then there is Sarvadharman Parityajya. So the whole Gita is summarized in this 16, 17, 18. Dvamimau Purusho Loke Kshara Chakshara Evacha Kshara Sarvani Bhutani Bhutasto Akshara Uchyate. Yes. Somebody was not yet read till now.
Prabhuji, in 15, I have a question, Prabhu.
Yes.
Here it says, although he forgets, the Lord gives him the intelligence to renew his work where he ended his last life. So when we forget, when we leave the body, we forget. The next birth we take, so Paramatma reminds us of our deeds, Prabhu.
Kala Karam Subhava. 3 things. Your Swabhava, one's Swabhava, one's Karma, and one's fate. At what time, junction of your life it will come. That particular Karma and Swabhava manifest.
So Prabhu, they say our subtle body will have the vasanas, right? So when we take the next birth, do we have the same subtle body?
Yes.
Oh, so it comes.
And along subtle body, so soul and super soul both travel.
Okay.
So till the time we have this body, super soul is the eternal companion of the soul. And once we get a spiritual body, then directly we are in association of Bhagavan there, the spiritual world.
But as long as we're in the material world, our subtle body is also with us.
So
many lifetimes we carry.
Death at the time of death we change gross body. At the time of mukti we change we give up the subtle body. Or subtle body is sublimated. The mind mixed with the global mind. Intelligence with the global intelligence in Pradhan. And the Ankar with the global Ankar. And then the pure soul goes with Satchitananda.
So when we say liberation, that means we leave that subtle body, but then the destination has to be spiritual world, you know.
Some people go to Brahmajyoti also. So when they go to Brahmajyoti, they leave their subtle body here.
They still leave the subtle body and go to the Brahmajyoti. Okay. But the liberation word is used differently in different contexts.
Yes. Basically, mukti. But for impersonalist, that is impersonalist is Brahmajyoti. And for devotees, it is 4 kinds of mukti. Salokya, Sarishti, Samipya, Sarupa.
For yogi also, it's Brahman, no, bro?
Yogi goes
meditates within in the on the
Paramatma. Yogi goes to Vaikuntha.
Oh, not Brahmajyoti.
There are 2 kinds of yogis. Again, I'm telling you. One is attached yogi, whose destination is Brahman, and one is a detached yogi who meditates on Lord Vishnu. If he's meditating on Vishnu, then he goes to Vaikuntha. If he's meditating on Brahman, then he goes to Brahmajyoti.
Okay.
This is elaborately discussed in 2nd canto, first 3 chapters. Along with how they get liberated, what path they travel.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, who has not yet read? We have 15 minutes to go. You have to complete this chapter. Chakrapani Rao Prabhu, you are in company.
No, Prabhu, I can read out.
Please read.
There are two classes of beings, the fallible and the infallible. In the material world, every living entity is fallible, and in the spiritual world, every living entity is infallible. As already explained, the Lord in his incarnation as Vyasadeva compiled the Vedanta Sutra. Here the Lord is giving, in summary, the contents of the Vedanta Sutra. He says that the living entities who are innumerable can be divided into two classes, the fallible and the infallible. The living entities are eternally separated parts and parcels of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When they are in contact with the material world, they are called Jiva Bhuta. And the Sanskrit words given here, Kshara Sarvani Bhutani, mean that they are fallible. Those who are in oneness with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, however, are called infallible. The oneness doesn't mean that they have no individuality, but there is no disunity. They are all agreeable to the purpose of the creation. Of course, in the spiritual world, there is no such thing as creation. But since the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as stated in the Vedanta Sutra, is the source of all emanations, that conception is explained. According to the statement of Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, there are two classes of living entities. The Vedas give evidence of this, so there is no doubt about it. The living entities who are struggling in this world with the mind and five senses have their material bodies, which are changing. As long as a living entity is conditioned, his body changes due to contact with matter. Matter is changing, so the living entity appears to be changing. But in the spiritual world, the body is not made of matter. Therefore, there is no change. In the material world, the living entity undergoes 6 changes: birth, growth, duration, reproduction, then dwindling and vanishing. These are the changes of the material body. But in the spiritual world, the body doesn't change. There is no old age, there is no birth, there is no death. They all exist in oneness. Kshara Sarvani Bhutani. Any living entity who has come in contact with matter, beginning from the first created being, Brahma, down to a small ant, is changing its body. Therefore, they are all fallible. In the spiritual world, however, they are always liberated in oneness. Surrender.
Okay. This is same what Prabhupada is trying to tell you. Uttama Purushastvanya Paramatmeti Udarata Yo Lokotrayam Avishya Bivarti Avyaya Ishvara. Yes. I'll randomly call someone. Yes, Lakshmi Mansa Mataji. Black. Dasnaj Pro. Okay, very less time. Yes, Lakshmi Kant, please read.
Translation: beside these two, there is greatest living personality, the Supreme Soul, the imperishable Lord Himself, who has entered the 3 worlds and is maintaining them. In idea, right? Yeah. The idea of this verse is very nicely expressed in the Katha Upanishad 2.2.13 and Sweta Satvara Upanishad and 6.13. It is clearly stated there that above the innumerable living entities, some of whom are conditioned and some of whom are liberated, there is Supreme Personality, who is Paramatma. The Upanishadic verse runs as follows: Nityanam Chetanas Setananam. The purport is that amongst all the living entities, both conditioned and liberated, there is one Supreme Living Personality, the Supreme Personality of a Godhead, who maintain them and gives them all the facility of enjoyment according to different work. The Supreme Personality of a Godhead is situated in everyone's heart as Paramatma, a wise man who can understand Him is eligible to attain perfect peace, not others. Correct?
Yes. So basically, this verse is speaking what? Paramatma. That word tu used in Uttama Purusha Stvanya distinguishes the super soul, the supreme Purusha mentioned in this verse from two Purushas. Krishna now directly states that he has already described in 12 to 15. Vivarta, maintainer of all living entities. Therefore, two things are mentioned. First half speaks that Lord is Paramatma. The second half speaks how is the maintainer of the material world. In Yo Lokantrayan Vibharti Avyava Ishvaraha, the maintainer. Same thing. Yasmaksharam atitoham aksharadapi chottama atosmin loke vede cha prati purushottamaha. Yes. Murari Prabhu, please read.
Because I am transcendental beyond both the fallible and the infallible, and because I am the greatest, I am celebrated both in the world and in the Vedas as that supreme person.
This is Murari Prabhu. This is
Yes.
Lord who is blowing the flute. Is Bhagavan feature here. Krishna in 200 form. So it's transcended both to fallible, infallible. Is the greatest. That means he's greater than Paramatma also. He's celebrated both in the world and the Vedas. So Paramatma is only in the material world. But Bhagavan is in both material world also and spiritual world also because he incarnates. And he also celebrated in Vedas Purusha, Supreme Purushan, Purushottamaha was translated into the Uttama. This is Bhagavan feature of the Lord. Yes, bro, please read.
Purport. No one can surpass the supreme personality of Godhead, Krishna, neither the conditioned soul nor the liberated soul. He is therefore the greatest of personalities. Now it is clear here that the living entities and the supreme personality of Godhead are individuals. The difference is that the living entities, either in the conditioned state or in the liberated state, cannot surpass in quantity the inconceivable potencies of the supreme personality of Godhead. It is incorrect to think of Supreme Lord and the living entities as being on the same level or equal in all respects. There is always a question of superiority and inferiority between their personalities. The word Uttama is very significant. No one can surpass the supreme personality of God. The word Loke signifies in the Paurusha Agama, the Smriti scripture, as confirmed in the Nirukti dictionary, Nirukti dictionary, Lokyate Vedartho Anena. The purpose of the Vedas is explained by the Smriti scriptures. The Supreme Personality in his localized aspect of Paramatma is also described in the Vedas themselves. The following verse appears in the Vedas, Chandogya Upanishad 8.12.3. Tavad Esha Samprasado Asmak Charirat. Asmak Charirat Samyuttaya Param Jyoti Rupam Sampadaya Svena Rupenbini Shapadyate Sa Uttama Purusha. The supreme, the super soul. The super soul coming out of the body enters the impersonal Brahman Jyoti. Then in his form, he remains in his spiritual identity. That supreme is called Supreme Personality. This means that the Supreme Personality is exhibiting and diffusing his spiritual effulgence, which is the ultimate illumination. The Supreme Personality also had a localized aspect as Paramatma. By incarnating himself as a son of Satyavati and Parashara, he explains the Vedic knowledge as Vyasadeva.
Yo mam evam sammodo janati purushottama sa sarvid bhajati mam sarva bhavena bharata. Yes, anybody would like to read, they can read.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes.
Whoever knows me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead without doubting is the knower of everything. He therefore engages himself in full devotional service to me, O son of Bharata. Purport. There are many philosophical speculations about the constitutional position of the living entities and the supreme absolute truth. Now, in this verse of Supreme Personality of Godhead, clearly explains that anyone who knows Lord Krishna to be the supreme person is actually the knower of everything. The imperfect knower goes on simply speculating about the absolute truth, but the perfect knower, without wasting his valuable time, engages directly in Krishna consciousness. The devotional service of the Supreme Lord. Throughout the whole of Bhagavad Gita, this fact is being stressed at every step. And still, there are so many stubborn commentators on Bhagavad Gita who consider the supreme absolute truth and the living entities to be one and the same. Vedic knowledge is called Shruti, learning by the oral reception. One should actually receive the Vedic message from the authorities like Krishna and his representatives. Hare Krishna. Here, Krishna distinguishes everything very nicely, and one should hear from this source. Simply to hear like the hogs is not sufficient. One must be able to understand from the authorities. It is not that one should simply speculate academically. One should submissively hear from Bhagavad Gita that these living entities are always subordinate to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Anyone who is able to understand this, according to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna, knows the purpose of the Vedas. No one else knows the purpose of the Vedas. The word bhajati is very significant. In many places, the word bhajati is expressed in relationship with the service of the Supreme Lord. If a person is engaged in full Krishna consciousness in the devotional service of the Lord, it is to be understood that he has understood all the Vedic knowledge. In the Vaishnava Parampara, it is said that if one is engaged in the devotional service of Krishna, then there is no need for any other spiritual progress for understanding the supreme absolute truth. He has already come to the point because he is engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. He has ended all preliminary processes of understanding. But if anyone, after speculating for hundreds of thousands of lives, does not come to the point that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead and that one has to surrender there, all his speculation for so many years and lives is a useless waste of time.
Yes, so basically, after knowing that who are the personalities, fallible, infallible, Paramatma Bhagwan, ultimately one comes to engage in devotional service and he becomes a knower of everything. Last shloka. Iti uyatmam shastram idam yuktam maya naga etad buddhva buddhimanasya kritya kritasya bharata. Yes. Who is that fortunate soul who is going to read the last verse?
I will do, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Translation. This is the most confidential part of the Vedic scripture, O sinless one, and it is disclosed now by me. Whoever understands this will become wise, and his endeavors will know perfection. Purport. The Lord clearly explained here that this is the substance of all revealed scriptures, and one should understand this as it is given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, one will become intelligent and perfect in transcendental knowledge. In other words, by understanding this philosophy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and engaging in his transcendental services, everyone can become freed from all contaminations of the modes of material nature. Devotional service is a process of spiritual understanding. Prabhuji, can you scroll down? Yeah, spiritual understanding. Whenever devotional service exists, the material contamination cannot coexist. Devotional service to the Lord and the Lord himself are one and the same because they are spiritual. Devotional service takes place within the internal energy of the Supreme Lord. The Lord is said to be the sun, and the ignorance is called darkness. Where the sun is present, there is no question of darkness. Therefore, whenever devotional service is present under the proper guidance of a bona fide spiritual master, there is no question of ignorance. Everyone must take to this consciousness of Krishna and engage in devotional services to become intelligent and purified. Unless one comes to this position of understanding Krishna and engage in devotional service, however intelligent he may be in the estimation of some common man, he is not perfectly intelligent. The word anag, by which Arjuna is addressed, is significant. Anaga, O sinless one, means that unless one is free from all sinful reactions, it is very difficult to understand Krishna. one has to become free from all contamination, all sinful activities, then he can understand. But devotional service is so pure and potent that once one is engaged in devotional service, he automatically comes to the stage of sinlessness. While one is performing devotional service in the association of pure devotees in full Krishna consciousness, there are certain things which require to be vanquished altogether. The most important thing one has to surmount is weakness of the heart. The first fall down is caused by the desire to lord it over material nature. Thus, one gives up the transcendental loving services of the Supreme Lord. The second weakness of the heart is that as one increases the propensity to lord it over material nature, he becomes attached to matter and the possession of matter. The problems of material existence are due to these weaknesses of the heart. In this chapter, the first 5 verses describe the process of freeing oneself from these weaknesses of heart, and the rest of the chapter from the 6th verse through the end discuss Purushottam Yoga. Thus end the Bhakti Vedanta purports of the 15th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam Gita in the matter of Purushottama Yoga, the yoga of Supreme Person.
Yes, Prabhupada is giving the flow of this chapter. First 5 verses speak about freeing oneself. In the rest of the chapter, from 6th verse, from spiritual world, from the reincarnation, process of reincarnation, 10, 11. Then how Lord is a maintainer, what is Sambandha, Akshara, Paramatma, Bhagavan, Abhideya, and Prayojan. So basically, Prabhupada is stressing more on, this is very important for us. In the whole Purushottam Yoga, the most important point is these 2 things. Weakness of heart. One weakness of heart is because of bodily conception of life. In bodily conception of life, we desire to lord it over material nature, basically exploit. Basically, instead of serving Lord, we want to, our happiness in enjoying the matter. And second is weakness of heart is the propensity to lord it over material nature. He becomes attached to the matter, in the position of the matter. So one part is we give up the transcendental loving service of the Lord and we become sense gratifiers. Second thing is we want to accumulate more and more to do the sense gratification. So anaga. So till the time we don't give this up, we will not be able to achieve the falshruti or the prayojana feature of this Purushottama Yoga. To reach Purushottama, we have to become anaga, like Arjuna. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. And we'll meet on
Hare Krishna,
Monday.
Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna. We'll end.
Hare Krishna.